Long before the water began to rise or the crater appeared, a patient game was unfolding. Ukraine had learned that Russian headquarters could become fortresses, secure compounds packed with radio trucks, armored command vehicles, heavy weapons, and reinforced walls. One particular HQ, inside a sprawling manor complex on low ground near the banks of a wide river, was Moscow's prize coordination node for frontline field armies. Each day, officers, technicians, and specialists enter behind walls topped with barbed wire, watched over by sentries and ringed by electronic jamming towers and minefields. Yet against all these defenses, the greatest threat was already moving upstream: nature itself. For weeks, Ukrainian signals teams intercepted phone calls and bursts of encrypted wireless between HQ staff and their chain of command. They studied late-night personnel shifts, idiosyncratic meetings, and the near-constant hum of supply trucks coming and going. Local partisans living near the river noticed a pattern. The compound's basements filled up quickly during heavy rain, forcing major equipment to move above ground. Engineers from Kyiv, armed with satellite imagery and weather forecasts, saw an even bigger vulnerability. Recent rains and upstream reservoir releases had swollen the river beyond its typical boundaries, turning the land around Russian HQ into a potential trap. The operation began with small steps. Sheltered agents moved at night to chart river height, map leak points, and document guard patrols near the floodgates and levees. Using custom water sensors, they reported back to Kyiv daily. The plan came together. If Ukraine could breach a pressure point on the flood defense system during peak water, it would unleash a sudden surge, isolating the Russian HQ and forcing everyone and everything above ground. As the right moment approached, saboteurs infiltrated a nearby river control station, evading detection by following routine maintenance crews and hiding their equipment in broken pipes and abandoned tool sheds. Hours after slipping in, the team wired 11 charges onto the ancient steel floodgate hinges and power boxes, set to explode at the most critical point, just before sunrise, when visibility was low and guard shifts were thin. Before pulling back, these operatives left their mark. Encrypted transmitters relaying water levels, search patterns, and drone footage to deep cover handlers sitting kilometers away. Every minute counted. The HQ's own commanders were oblivious to the swelling danger on their doorstep. Even as rain fell in sheets and mud pooled along the perimeter walls, Russian staff laughed off any suggestion of risk. After all, their defenses had stopped drones, saboteurs, and even precision missiles before. Meanwhile, Ukrainian intelligence officers watched steadily from afar. Their drones flew lazy orbits above the river, using thermal sensors to pick out the shapes of parked armored vehicles and antenna clusters as Russian officers shuffled equipment indoors to protect it from the elements. The scene was tense. Inside the manor, key planning staff, tasked with supply chain, intelligence, and air defense operations, met in the safest room they could find, the basement, just meters above the newly rising water. By 0500, the HQ was in pure disarray. The water kept rising. Vehicles and cables, once buried for safety, now lay exposed. Staff lost discipline, shuffling critical files and electronics to outdoor workstations and the top floors of the manor. Every routine had been shattered. Every defense, wet and battered and pressed into the open, was visible from the air. That's when the trap snapped shut. Above the compound, Ukrainian drones hovered at altitude, recording high-resolution video and relaying live updates to artillery and missile coordinators kilometers away. Key targets were mapped one by one: a satellite uplink, a column of command vehicles, a ring of generator clusters, and a mobile field control terminal for Russian air defense. To complete the targeting, drones watched as the last staff gathered in open areas, waiting for orders and hoping for rescue. The final phase began. Ukrainian Artillery Command, already standing by thanks to minute-by-minute drone feeds and radio intercepts, prepared a launch sequence. A heavy rocket was selected, armed with a 915-kilogram high explosive, designed not just to shake buildings, but to rip reinforced bunkers and armored hulls to shreds. Engineer teams loaded targeting coordinates, constantly updated by drone spotters for maximum accuracy. Just as dawn broke, hidden sensors along the river witnessed the Russian HQ drowning in chaos. Courtyards transformed into lakes, armored vehicles idling on wet cement, staff standing frozen around mounds of rescued equipment. In their scramble to save their work, the Russians had exposed their most critical command and control assets to near-perfect observation. At 0518, the strike began. The rocket soared over the horizon, tracked by Ukrainian spotters until it vanished into river fog. For a split second, Russian radar caught the incoming threat, but with their air defense radar cluttered by atmospheric noise and real-time confusion on the ground, reaction lagged. The missile plunged down, guided with precision by the latest drone-to-artillery link in Ukraine's arsenal. The impact was devastating. The high-explosive shell detonated directly above the manor's center, sending shockwaves through the main building and the open command area. A wall of blast pressure rolled through the compound, flinging mud, debris, vehicles, tents, cables, satellite dishes into the air. Laptops, radios, and command terminals shattered like toys. Flames burst from ruptured generators and fuel tanks. Secondary explosions followed as munitions and electronics ignited. Gasoline and diesel fires leapt high, while precious files and targeting maps burned in twisted heaps of steel and plastic. Ukrainian drone pilots, still circling overhead, recorded the carnage for instant analysis in Kyiv. Every corner of the compound was hit. No part of the Russian HQ escaped damage. By 0600, emergency response units tried to reach the site, driving in armored personnel carriers and rescue trucks. Helicopters hovered, but in the chaos, coordination broke down. Russian officers attempted makeshift evacuations in waist-deep water, dragging survivors through mud and debris. The once formidable headquarters, built to endure months of war, had been nearly erased in 20 minutes, undone by ingenuity, sabotage, perfect timing, and overwhelming firepower. As the sun climbed higher, Ukrainian intelligence centers buzzed with excitement. Months of meticulous surveillance and preparation, combined with split-second drone feeds and precise missile guidance, had resulted in a single, overwhelming blow. The psychological ripple was immediate. Russian units along the front lines waited, their orders uncertain, their navigation and coordination in flux, while Ukrainian commanders pressed their advantage with a second wave of attacks. But true victory would be measured not just by the destruction itself, but by what came next. A scramble across Russian command structures, desperate attempts to recover, and new patterns of defense, not knowing if another water trap or explosive ambush was lurking upstream. The moments after the explosion were sheer pandemonium. Thick plumes of black smoke rose into the sky, seen from miles away, an unmistakable sign that a high-value target had been shattered. The riverbank manor, once a fortress of Russian command, was now flattened. Its walls collapsed inward, its courtyards cratered and flooded, its armored vehicles tossed sideways by the force of 915 kilograms of high explosive. Russian command was sent reeling. Within minutes, urgent radio messages leapt to higher headquarters. Confirmation of the catastrophic loss, a desperate call for backup, requests for emergency relocation and defense. Region-wide, Allied Russian units struggled to make sense of the blackout. Traffic along field radio nets surged and collapsed, lacking coordination from the battered HQ site. Convoys originally queued up with new orders waited in limbo. Ground units reported facing Ukrainian assaults with minimal direction, and the planned counteroffensive was paused indefinitely. The physical destruction was only the start. For days, massive holes in Russian coordination remained. Satellite images broadcast around the world showed the ruined manor, waterlogged crater, and burned-out vehicles, a message of vulnerability. From Moscow to field commanders posted across occupied regions, the question was clear. How did Ukraine pull off such a devastating blow? And could it happen again? Back at the river, Russian engineers raced to build makeshift bridges and restore flooded roads. Mobile command trucks arrived with replacement gear. Radio operators climbed onto armored rooftops to re-establish shaky links to their superiors. But every step met new obstacles: waterlogged electronics, fields of debris, mud-slick pavements, and the ever-present threat of further precision strikes as Ukrainian drones continued to circle overhead. Ukrainian intelligence pored over intercepted radio traffic. Command messages were frequently interrupted by static and confusion. Rival officers argued over evacuation routes, the location of emergency command posts, and whether supplies could even reach the battered sector. Russian morale faltered. Witnesses reported junior officers openly questioning their superiors, military police interrogating survivors, and heated inquiries about missed warning signs and the inadequacy of the HQ's supposedly impenetrable perimeter defenses. Meanwhile, in Kyiv, the mood was triumphant but sober. Analysts reviewed every phase of the operation: the timing of the floodgate breach, the drone mapping of exposed command assets, the rapid-fire updating of missile targeting, and the split-second coordination between field teams and artillery. Field commanders identified lessons for future operations: mobility, the exploitation of environmental vulnerabilities, and the power of real-time video and data. Reporting teams in Ukraine made the images public. Before and after photos of the Manor complex, animated overlays showing flooding, drone footage of rescue crews battling smoke and rising water. The blast became a warning to commanders on both sides. Static defenses, especially ones ignoring terrain and weather, could suffer catastrophic failure from sabotage, surveillance, and precision firepower. In the following weeks, Russian headquarters across the region took urgent measures. They raised flood barriers, transferred sensitive operations to higher ground or into mobile command units, added more anti-drone jammers, and replaced lost equipment at enormous cost. Some switched to makeshift field sites, trading convenience and protection for mobility. It was a race against time as the command structure hurried to patch the strategic gap before Ukrainian forces could strike again. On the battlefield, the effect was immediate. Ukrainian advances along the river and nearby sectors met weak, scattered resistance. Russian units, caught without their normal coordination, had to improvise, relying on slower communication channels and delayed orders. Critical logistics, ammunition, fuel, medical evacuation were held up for days. Ukrainian artillery and drone teams shifted targets rapidly, exploiting Russian confusion and hampered response. Psychological fallout spread as well. Russian social media buzzed with panic, claims of betrayal, rumors about Ukrainian agents disguised as river workers, conspiracy theories about superweapons and undetectable drones. Several Russian field commanders were quietly replaced or reassigned, charged with restoring lost command integrity and preventing future environmental attacks. For Ukrainian forces, the operation proved not only the value of careful planning and surveillance, but also that nature itself could be weaponized. The combination of environmental sabotage, rapid intelligence sharing, drone mapping, and precision strike had brought down one of Russia's most important command centers. It was a message for the world. Ingenuity, adaptation, and the power of real-time data could turn even the biggest fortress into wreckage. As spring rains continued, river levels remained high, and both sides reevaluated the safety of low-ground positions. Ukrainian planners recorded every adaptation Russia attempted, cataloging the lessons for future assaults. Deep in Kyiv's secure bunkers, teams drafted plans for replicating the operation, targeting other fixed headquarters, supply depots, and high-value infrastructure, blending sabotage with artillery and missile raids. But for the region around the shattered manor, the destruction left a permanent mark. Russian units steered clear of flooded roads and low-lying fields. Civilians passed around stories of the night the river rose on command. Ukrainian villages nearby finally saw days of quiet, their skies free of Russian UAVs, artillery, and frantic command signals. The legacy of the trap was simple. In the new age of war, dominance was not just about arms and armor, but about information, flexibility, and the ability to turn terrain and timing into strategic advantage. The manor's ruins stood as permanent evidence. No HQ, no matter how well defended, no matter how prepared, was immune to defeat, as long as its foes were willing to find and exploit every natural and human flaw. And as Ukraine looked forward, the blueprint was set. Next time, the enemy would know to fear water, drones, sabotage, and the relentless creativity of those who refuse to let a fortress become a safe haven.